welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Hey, folks, welcome to another wonderful show with your favorite wrestling podcast, the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm not juiced up on any kind of medication today. How about you, Nick?
You better be juiced up on some medication, man. I am not, just for the change, I'm not the one shaking off the cold. It's you.
Yes.
But we will muscle through. Maybe what we need, Myron, over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com. Check out the handle is at Tapped Out Pod, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. If you search it, you'll find us. Maybe there's some behind the scene footage of Myron at last night trying to assemble a bed and negotiation tactics and completing such said task, I guess maybe is the words I'm looking for.
No, that will never exist.
Yeah, well, if the video did exist, of course, if it did exist, I would, of course, put it over on our Patreon, patreon.com, Tapped Out Pod's the handle, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, or on our YouTube channel for the members. But, hey, on YouTube, make sure you're liking the page, subscribing to the page, turning your notifications on, all that great stuff, so that way you don't miss a thing. Because somebody reached out to me, Myron, and said, hey, how come sometimes the YouTube show comes out at like 9 o'clock and the podcast doesn't come out till noon? It's a very simple answer. Because YouTube, I generally launch it when I wake up and get downstairs to my office. I go ahead and release it so I can do a couple other things that I need to do. But on Libsyn, I don't go back in there and reschedule it because it's on a set schedule. And if you're looking for a way to release your podcast on a regular basis, I strongly recommend Libsyn.com. Use promo code TAPPED, that is TAPPED, promo code TAPPED at Libsyn.com. Sign up today and get up to 2 months free. Make your podcast better. Make it so much easier just to get your product out, and you'll end up everywhere like us on every even Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, everywhere and anywhere, dude. That's where you want to be. And of course, before we get started, I want to get our last plug in. Do the reads, as they like to say in the biz.
Ooh.
jmartinandcompany.com, pressure washing, window cleaning. They also do, they'll clean your roof. They'll clean your gutters. They do driveways for the pressure washing. They'll do your house. They do it all. One-stop shop for all of your house cleaning needs on the outside of the exterior. They do decks. They do it all. So jmartinandcompany.com. It's who I use to do the outside of our house for pretty much everything as far as that stuff goes. And like I said, love those guys to death. They did a phenomenal job on the house and the driveway. So can't recommend them enough. jmartinandcompany.com.
Ooh, that sounds good to me. Now, I'll tell you what. That guy likes spices. Do you ever remember last time we saw that guy? He was trying to buy all those cruel spices.
He did buy all the cruel spices.
Single cruel spice.
Yeah. We had to wait till the Southern Fried Show to pick up another batch because he got them all from the Southern Honor Show. Yep, that was true. Spicy some gun. Listen, speaking of spicy, Myron, last week the reception was so good for the mailbag episode. The problem that it was so good, it caused a whole bunch of people to send in questions this week.
They filled my sack again, Nick.
I know, right? So it kind of made it a point where, I guess we got to go back to the mailbag and clean it out. Because some of the questions this week, there were a lot of questions that were very week specific. So we wanted to make sure we went back into the mailbag and dove in and got that. A lot of questions, so they may be shorter answers than normal. Because there was, like I said, there were quite a few that were like, okay, man, we got to get these. And if you're ever wondering, where do I send the questions to? tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Tappedoutpod, go figure, @gmail.com, right? Tappedoutpod. Kind of makes that whole branding thing a little bit of a theme. So
branding is very important in intellectual properties. Remember that, folks.
Very much it is.
We'll be telling you about our legal representation later. So let me pour myself a little dose of Tussin. Are you ready to start now?
Let's rock and roll, man.
Okay, ready to go. Larry, from our friend Larry in Akron, Ohio. Larry asks, do you agree with Booker T that they should have LA Knight beat Roman instead of Cody? Now, I want to pause real quick, Nick. Talk about Booker T for just a second. Do you like to listen to Booker T's voice?
It's soothing.
It's soothing.
It does.
The green Cholula. The green Cholula. Oh, the green is spicy. I can't stand listening to him on commentary.
Okay.
Oh God, Nick.
I dig it, man.
I can't.
Sucker.
Okay. No, he was so much better when it was a long time ago. Maybe I'll listen to his podcast and find out what he sounds on his podcast. But he says LA Knight should beat Roman instead of Cody. Nick, what are your thoughts?
So when we were discussing this question, I was kind of like, here's my analogy, and I would love. By the way, this is a question that I would 100% love some feedback on. Tappedoutpod@gmail.com. So, on one hand, let's address the upside first, right? I think LA Knight has a much higher upside to winning versus Cody. Cody's already the top babyface in the company. At least that's how he's positioned, in my opinion. That's where I think they have him on their internal rosters, as the dirt sheets like to say. So if he's already the top babyface and he wins, yeah, he's going to get the bump because he's going to be the guy who finally dethrones Roman Reigns. But didn't we all scream in the past, it should be Sammy? Oh, it should be Jay. My thing is, if LA Knight's that guy, does it literally shoot him through the stratosphere? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, LA Knights is as damn close to the stratosphere as it gets, though, Nick. How many shirts does he sell now? Okay.
I know he's a lot, but that's kind of my thing. Do you strike? Because look, the argument would be you missed the boat with Cody. The lightning in a bottle was Mania last year. You're not going to recapture that moment. Like, it's that moment, they had their opportunity. I'm not saying Cody's never going to be a world champion, undisputed champion, universal champion, whatever the hell belt he ends up with. That's not what I'm saying. But the lightning in a bottle opportunity that they had, if you believe they passed that up, do you capture that moment with LA Knight and it skyrockets him to even heights? The drawback that I have is the cons of each guy not being the guy. So if Cody isn't the guy who dethrones him, is the damage it does to Cody, is it more got distracted there. So the argument being, if Cody doesn't win, does he have further to fall than LA Knight falls if he doesn't win it? Does that make sense?
Well, who has the longer shelf life, Nick? Can we put LA Knight on the shelf and let him pause with this while Cody does this? Or if we pause Cody's momentum and take LA Knight, let LA Knight do it, let him run through, beat Cody. Okay? Let him beat Roman. The whole thing, Roman gets the belt back, and then Cody comes and does his business. Is the pause for Cody more damaging than the pause for Knight? That's what you were saying. We have to get this Cody thing out now. Okay? Cody's expiration date for this momentum is closer to expiring than LA Knight's. Okay, Cody's not going to expire as a talent or as expire as a babyface or as push. But the whole story with Roman is going to expire a lot quicker than LA Knight's story would if we put LA Knight towards it. So I disagree with Booker T. And also, I'm not going to drink the green Cholula.
So look, at this point, my take, to heck with it. Put it on LA Knight and run with it. I think I can see the case to be made. Let me put it to you that way. I don't think you go wrong putting it on either guy. But here's the argument. If it's not LA Knight, because look, it wasn't Sammy, it wasn't Cody, it wasn't Jay. At some point, you got to start asking, well, then who is it? And if you wait long enough, do you diminish the return? The height at which Roman was, taking it off of him? Are you catching him now on a downslide? I don't believe so, but some would argue that. If he's on a downslide, are you losing, having diminishing returns on the guy who's beating him?
You have to let Cody get it. Cody turns heel. LA Knight takes it off heel Cody. That's my take on it. But then again, I'm just a fantasy booker. I don't even play. I haven't played anything since the one that was on the 64. Okay, so that's the
Gotcha.
last time.
Yeah.
I haven't booked since then. But what does our next question say? Wayne from Norfolk, Virginia. There's been a lot of wrestling in Norfolk, Virginia, hasn't there, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, Wayne wants to know, do you think the card for Crown Jewel is stacked enough, or do they need to bring back Brock Lesnar or another legend to try to hype it more? Do they need to put the old NXT Tuesday Night War thing on there, or is it good enough, Nick? Let's go over it real quick. Let's go over it quick before we do any more. Okay, we've got the Undisputed Championship match, Roman Reigns versus LA Knight.
Right, we talked about that. Yep.
Okay, we've got Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. We've got a 5-way women's championship match. Now that's going to be in Saudi Arabia, so that's probably going to be under different standards. So that's going to be interesting to see. And we've got the United States Championship match, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. Now we've got a WWE Hall of Famer in Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul, the biggest mass media superstar besides Bad Bunny the WWE can tap into right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that card is stacked. They're probably going to add 1 to 2 more matches. I don't think they need a legend. What do you think?
Well, you brought it up prior to recording. You thought, do we get a Uso versus Uso match? I look. Obviously, we're recording on Wednesday, so we haven't gotten to Smackdown yet. Monday is when they added the Damian Priest Cody match. Could they add Jimmy versus Jay? Yeah, I don't know that it even needs that at this point. Look, you're already getting the 2 main belts, right? You're getting Roman and LA Knight. So you're getting Roman Reigns. You're getting Seth defending a title. You're getting all of the women on there in the one show. You're getting Logan Paul, like you said, and you're getting Rey Mysterio. So I think you're giving them probably everything that they're going to want. I mean, in my opinion, that's just my take. At best, like I said, you add the Uso versus Uso. Maybe you add Gunther defending against something. But my problem is we're still, 3 shows away.
Yeah. This is going to be the same show. It's going to be an amazing weekend for us. We've got Southern Fried and Southern Honor that weekend. We've got this pay-per-view. It's the weekend after Halloween. Halloween's going to be on a Tuesday. So let's see. I mean, we've got the second night of Halloween Havoc. So there's probably going to be something decided there that we don't even know, especially after last night. Good God, we're recording on a Wednesday. Last night, the first night of Halloween Havoc, they made all kind of decisions that might wind up turning up on something that's going to be on this pay-per-view. So there's no telling what else is going to be there. So
right.
I love what they're doing right now with the WB. I think the quality of the television has improved dramatically. I think it's much more entertaining than it has been in the last 6 months. And I think the last 6 months has probably been some of the better stuff they've had. And speaking of that, our friend Craig from Mesa, Arizona wants to know what we think about. Do you think the tension between Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce that they're portraying will lead to a match between the two of them?
Could it? Yes. Will it? No. I think the tensions are being built because we have to fictitiously create the brand split. Okay, by the way, this is the closest we've come with the story that they've kind of had where there's a little bit of friction between the two of them, of having like a true brand split where they're fighting a little bit. But we are coming up on Survivor Series, so don't we have to create that tension and that whole brand split thing? So that's kind of, I think, why we're there. You may get like the tensions of like them being like the leaders and, maybe even out there at some point, who knows? But I think they're going to have teams. I think that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to have teams. The problem that I see with this, by the way, so my answer is, hold on, back up. I think eventually a match does happen, but I don't think it's like soon. Like, I don't think they're going to rush it. I see them milking the, the tensions between I would go 6 months to a year before I even remotely thought about putting those two in the ring with each other. But that's just
me. Oh yeah. No. Don't get that over. I don't know what kind of physical shape Pearce is in. Is he fully retired? I know they're both former NWA champions, right?
Right.
Okay. So Aldis is in top shape. We saw him in the ring, a month ago?
Yeah.
And he looked great. He looked phenomenal.
I have a feeling that Adam Pearce is probably he still looks like he's in pretty good shape. Good enough to go for one night. You know what I'm saying? Like every night, maybe not. One night, yeah, I think he can.
Yeah. Sorry. Between yeah and yeet, the chants have just been so good. I can't stop. I feel like
exactly.
I feel like I'm a 1998 again, and I just want to holler. I don't know. I'm happy about wrestling. Don't you feel that these days?
Yeet.
Yeet.
Yeah.
Okay, Dick. So what do you have to talk about now? What product?
Well, listen. Every week we're telling you guys, I do the fantasy football league. I picked up a win. I defeated another. So I feel like I've played Happy Madness like 3 out of the last 4 weeks, it feels like. But look, sometimes it's not about fantasy because fantasy football is a long season.
Yeah, I won't even play that.
But however, with our friends over at Prize Picks, it's week to week. Make your bets, get your wins, and get your money. So again, if you're a gambling man like me, that's who you want to check out on a weekly basis. Our friends over at Prize Picks.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words, Prize Picks. It's so easy. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the numbers. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
That's right, man. Jump on over there. Check them out. Prize Picks. Get your bets on a weekly basis and win, and get your money. It's literally like, bam, instant. When those things are wins, it doesn't take no time at all, and the money's right there for you. So check them out. Prize Picks.
Technology.
Use the app, by the way. I'm a big fan of the app.
Okie dokie. So let's go on to the next question. And this is something we were talking about earlier. Philip from Greensboro, North Carolina wants to know, what did you guys think of Becky losing the title to Lyra Valkyrie last night on Halloween Havoc? Wow, what a match.
Yep.
What a match. Lyra Valkyrie really showed out. Becky has done such a good job on this run, putting over talent, making people look good, doing such a great job. And that match, every match on NXT was phenomenal last night. The women's matches were wonderful. They had 4 women's matches? The lights out match, that hardcore match with the playground, the qualifier match. They had 5 matches actually, but this match was a show stealer, Nick.
Yeah. I want to backpedal to a couple of weeks ago. Has anybody benefited from bringing the stars down? There was some pushback about that. I get like that specific week. The question was because of Undertaker and Cena and LA Knight and all those guys on there. However, Becky's been down there pretty consistently. Oh, and by the way, she's drugged that title to all the main shows.
She defended it Monday night.
Correct.
Need some cough drop?
No, she added value to the title to begin with. I can't do a whole lot on this side of the screen though.
Sorry, I'll hand it to you.
So she created a buzz to the title, and then she took her name and she stamped it on the next person. And how did that crowd, Myron? You tell me, how did that crowd react to that?
I gotta go, Nick. I gotta go. You're right. I have to go to Orlando now. How am I going to con the wife and to get into Orlando? Are me and you going to have to hop on a plane, fly to Orlando, take in a show, and fly home? Is that what we're going to have to do? I'm dying to get down there in that building and watch a show, Nick. It is so crazy.
Yeah. So I agree, man. We're going to have to figure it out and figure out a way to get down there. But kudos back to the original question. Kudos back to Becky, man, for like hopefully that's going to help make this next, because her victory now matters. She beat somebody that's a somebody.
Most valuable person in the women's wrestling division this year. I really think she went out of her way to really tune it up and give the WWE what they needed to spice it up.
Mm-hmm.
And the NXT is just a massive repository of women's wrestlers. I think they've got so many people, they don't even have to come up. And we were talking last week about Raw and SmackDown. Well, not SmackDown, but Raw and NXT changing dates. I think if NXT gets stuck on Wednesday nights in the future, there's a good chance it would just crush AEW.
I don't know. That's a whole other debate for another show, but I agree. Well, I mean, I think there's some nuances to that, but yeah.
Yeah, you use them big words, but all I know is I've seen tables, and I've seen steel chairs, and I've seen all kind of moves I didn't even remember the names of in wrestling at night. And Shotzi Blackheart's Halloween costumes were on point. Dude, it was just a phenomenal show. I couldn't have enjoyed it more. Okay, so let's get back. Since we're continuing to talk about Halloween Havoc, Karen from that horrible town of Knoxville, Tennessee, wants to know, do you think with the popularity of the Halloween Havoc concept, war games, etc., do you think the WWE should bring back more of the old WCW, ECW, and even the old WWF pay-per-view names and themes? So, Nick?
Oh, I'm 1,000% on board with that.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see it.
Let me tell you, Myron. I know they did the King of the Ring, and they used the name and stuff. Me personally, give me the tournament in one night, like they did back, like in the original concept. Like, start with your 8, and they all go through in one night. Boom, crown your guy. I'm all for that. With technology now, between apps and all that kind of stuff, here's the thing. It probably wasn't the greatest concept. Give me the Cyber Sunday or the Taboo Tuesday thing where, like, you go online and you vote, for the matches and stuff like that live. Because then that would have kind of encouraged the live, like, you got to watch it live. You got to vote live, that type of thing. So I think that would be a plus. Here's another one. You bought WCW. It is, to me, criminal that Starrcade is not a regular pay-per-view somewhere.
And the thing is, Nick, we have pay-per-views that are named after matches. Elimination Chamber is a match.
Yeah.
Okay? Tables, ladders, and chairs is a match. Okay? Money in the Bank is a match, not a pay-per-view.
How about you give me Starrcade in December and not day one or whatever the hell they call that goofy pay-per-view that they've been doing? Give me Starrcade in December.
Yes.
Something
and then
like that.
Take one of these match name pay-per-views and put those matches. I think the only, like, Rumble is a pay-per-view that's named after a match. Okay? That's where you should go with that. But for the most part, they should take those pay-per-views and give us a Starrcade, because I'd love that. Or use them more for NXT if you have to.
Give me Bash at the Beach in Australia. Give me, or make it one of the stadiums in California, on the coast or something. Just something. That Florida. Give me one of those. Because I get it. Hey, we got to run a stadium. We can't run a building. All right. Well, fuck it. Run it by the beach at least. Jesus. I mean, give me something. And then, if you really want to get, like, what's that? The Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Scrap that. Go ECW, Barely Legal, Hardcore Heaven, or all of whatever. Look, one of my favorite ECW, by the way, pay-per-views was November to Remember, right? Can't really use that. That's Survivor Series month. I understand. But what if NXT used it during November?
Exactly.
So, just saying.
NXT, but the thing is, this whole 2-night, appeared over 2 weeks, Halloween Havoc, And the second one is going to be on Halloween. I am stoked. I am really stoked. I really enjoyed last night's program. It was quality wrestling. And they're going to have a women's tag team title defense on the program next week. They're going to have the finals of that women's breakout tournament. They had Jade Cargill last night. You saw what Road Dogg said about the fact they can build Jade Cargill whatever without ever having her in a match.
I agree.
WWE has done a masterpiece with her. Okay. She has got a bigger build with WWE than she ever got with AEW, and she's never had one match. Oh, man. But now we're going to talk about somebody from AEW and somebody who is one of your favorites, Nick.
Yep.
Some of your favorites, somebody you make a point to talk to every time we're around him. And it's not Wayne from Atlanta, Georgia, but Wayne from Atlanta, Georgia wants to know, is Jeff Jarrett on AEW TV too much at his age? I'm sorry, is he on TV too much at his age?
Yeah. That answer is a no. Hell no.
You can't get too much of him, can you?
You cannot. And here's the thing. I saw a crazy stat that float. I guess this is probably where the question came from. There's a crazy stat floating around this past week on social media. Jeff Jarrett's had more matches than Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, Takeshita, Jay White, Hangman Page, MJF, Christian Cage, Eddie Kingston, Chris Jericho, Shida, Britt Baker, Riho, and the Young Bucks. Like, isn't that pretty much supposed to be a chunk of your core of guys? Like, and yet Jeff Jarrett's had more matches on television than, like, any of those names. And by the way, other cool stat, of his 25 matches, 7 of them have been title matches, whether it's tag team, trios, internet, whatever, whatever.
When you need someone who you know can deliver, when you need somebody who you know can perform, somebody who can draw heat, you go to somebody you know you can depend on. You go to Jeff Jarrett. Someone who's a third generation talent?
But hold on, because here's another thing to look at it. We talked about something, and this might have been off air, so my brain's like, in a fog. Jeff Jarrett being in that ring with those guys can only make them better. Like, it's not like, hey, you're trying to get, Jeff Jarrett's trying to get over. Well, hey, in case you missed it, he loses a lot of those matches. However, those guys, especially the younger talents, win by being in there with him. And by the way, defeating him in a lot of those cases. They kind of get a little bit of a rub off of that, but they can learn. You don't learn from guys less than you. You learn from people above.
Study this stuff. You read about this stuff. You get in the ring with these people. You work with these people. When we first started doing the podcast, the first thing we started doing was listening to other podcasts. I was listening to Cornette. You were listening to everything Conrad did. Okay. That's how you get better. You study the people who have been doing it, the people who know how to do it. It's the same thing with wrestling. If you want to get better at anything, you get the people that are accomplished and established, and you follow them. Jeff Jarrett's a legend. One of the greatest honors of my life is I got to speak with his dad one time. We're talking about one of the greatest families in wrestling history. The people that are working with him, the people that are honored enough to see him on television, it's great. I hope he's at WrestleCade again this year.
Yeah, I just worry he's not going to be, because it's going to be a Saturday meet and greet with Collision, so he'll probably have to be at Collision wherever it's at, so he won't be there. So hopefully, my hope was maybe they do something Friday or maybe Sunday, like a panel or something he can get back to. I don't know. I'm asking a lot. I'm fully aware of that, but that is what it is.
We've been sending our suggestions in.
Yeah, but listen, Myron, you've talked about it, right? Him being the old guy, the veteran, that somebody that the guys can learn from. It's going to lead me straight into this week's Pro Wrestling Tees Shirt of the Week. Something a little different this week. Bear with me. I just had to announce it, right? this week, the Pro Wrestling Tees segment, the shirt of the week is our shirt. We have a new shirt that came out, and it is about the old grizzled vet. It's a quote that I got from an old grizzled vet, and I'm like, Dave, that's a T-shirt. It's not the years, it's the mileage. And it's about, like, putting the miles on, and learning, because a lot of guys are like, I've been wrestling for 10 years. And, like, how many matches a year do you work? 4? So you've had 40 matches in 10 years? Or is it the miles that you get up and down the road, Myron? Is it the guys who are out here putting the miles in and working the shows? I'll go with that guy.
Yep.
That's because it's the reps. It's all about the reps. So check out our Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees. New shirt. It's not the years, it's the mileage. The quote from the old grizzled vet there, as you can see on the shirt. Check us out. And look, check out our friends. Like, we've been sharing for weeks, shirts with everybody, anybody and everybody. So if you've got it, by the way, if you're a talent and you have a shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees that you want to promote, send it to me. Send it to us, and in our private messages on Facebook, slide into our DMs on Twitter, send it to me. Or how about you just send me the damn link at tappedoutpod@gmail.com, either one, and that way I can pull it up and I can steal the picture right off of the website as well. So Pro Wrestling Tees, shirt of the week. It's a me. So all right, brother, let's wrap this show up. Let's get the last few questions.
We got a couple more questions left, and a couple of the things we want to mention. But this is Dennis from Austin, Texas. Dennis wants to know, what do you guys think about Impact bringing back the TNA name or the TNA brand? Now, are they not going to be Impact anymore? Nick, please explain.
They are not. They are going back to TNA, which, dude, look, I know a lot of people. Here's the crazy thing. There was probably a point in time when Nick would have said, I don't know, man, that's not, I don't know if I'd have run with that. But from a business perspective, I'm like, you know what, man? Go to your roots. Because I feel like most people are still calling it freaking TNA half the time, it felt like.
Yep.
There was just a brand confusion issue at times. Yep. But now, if you go back to the TNA, it also helps you embrace the heritage, all of the stuff that you have from the old TNA days, that then it's not like awkward. Because I always thought, when they were Impact Wrestling and Impact Wrestling was everywhere, they would show old footage. It's almost like they were hesitant to show it because it had TNA plastered everywhere. And you're like, wait, that's a different company? So now it's just kind of a way to unify your brand and history of your brand. So I'm all for it. I would listen, friend of the show, Lewis, I would love to know his take on this, and I'm going to have to reach out to him in tech because he's a really big Impact guy. And I know BQ is as well. I'd love to know their take, what they think of it too. But I'm down with it because I love it opens up that possibilities of embracing their history more than they currently have.
I haven't talked to Lewis in years.
He doesn't like you.
Yeah. But I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I've always thought very highly of the TNA Impact brand. I've always enjoyed it. They've always had a good alternative to all the other programs. They've been a great breeding ground for talent. It's a good show. There's some stuff coming out now. I really have to study up on about Billy Corgan and Dixie Carter. I want to read more about that. Billy's saying a few things.
You need to go back. There's a few episodes of Jarrett's My World episodes where he gets into a little bit of that whole backstage with that whole time. You need to go back and listen to those. It's pretty interesting.
Okay. And there was a time where I was just, and I've said that in some of our groups. I said, I beginning to believe Corgan is just full of shit. But I don't know, Nick. The guy's starting to say some stuff that's making sense. I know he's not on the Ion Network. Is that correct?
Okay. That was why it was called half-ass internet research. It did end up being CW. For the record, I'm throwing my hand up here. For the record, I was not aware that they fucking had sold off to a big chunk to the independent company. That's kind of why I didn't really think CW was an independent channel. So when he said independent channel, it completely threw me off. But hey, it's wrestling. It doesn't matter if I was right. I said it was half-assed internet research to begin with. So there's that.
I had to get that in.
I knew it was coming at some
and
point.
It was in there. It was saved the whole time. It's in my personal set of notes I keep to the side. There's like nice thing. Dig this into Nick when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Tell Lewis to go to hell.
Hey, before we move on, I'm going to ask you.
In every week's notes. What?
So we're big. Obviously, we like Impact. We've been watching now. Matt Cardona's even come out now, and like he thinks like quietly like they've dramatically gotten better. Like they're way better, which they have. If you're going back in and you're embracing the TNA brand, hypothetical, which they are. Do you bring back the 6-sided ring to stand out? Do you literally, because Bischoff always talks about you're better than, less than, or or different than. Right now, everybody does the TNA LOL, because they're just a smaller version. They're somewhere in between AEW and NWA at this point, right? Yeah, I just said that. I think they're a hair above, they're above NWA. I did say that. So, do you go different than and bring back your 6-sided ring so then you completely stand out even more? If you're going back to the TNA brand, I think you have to, don't you?
Oh, shit. You've blown my mind.
See, I was just getting even for the dig.
You have actually blown my mind. I don't even know what to say, Nick. I have no concept of how to respond to that. Wow.
Listen, I'd love to hear people's opinions. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. What's your thoughts? Would you bring back the 6-sided ring? I may put it up as a Twitter poll or something and just see what happens, and see how the votes go. Yes or no?
I need to talk to somebody next not this weekend, next weekend, and ask him what his opinion on that is. Somebody that understood the dynamics of the 6-sided ring. But what I got you on the whole TNA Impact NWA thing. Let me ask you a question. I had posted about the.
Hold on, you have to go. Myron from Sugar Hill wants to know.
Myron from Sugar Hill wants to know, Nick. What do you think about the NWA also signing a TV deal to do reality TV? Because Myron thinks that reality TV is a good thing for professional wrestling.
Here's my take. I think it's not. I don't think it's worth it. Now, depending on what they're paying you, you may not have been able to say no. I don't particularly like it because AEW did one. I tried twice to watch episodes and couldn't muster through it. Listen, Divas, Bellas, all that crap, I couldn't watch it. My kids, by the way, just so you know, my kids loved it. Me, not so much. I'm just not a fan. Like, wrestling is reality TV in a way. So I'm kind of like, I don't need a reality show about a reality show. I know that's kind of a thing now, apparently, but I'm just saying, I would have passed if I could have. But look, if CW was throwing some cash at them and they're going to profit from it, I don't think Billy could say no.
But what about the OVW show on Netflix?
I have a whole theory about that, and I love Al Snow. And I'm thinking they made a genius move by they took some money, they made a docuseries, and it increased the attention span on their product to the point that they were selling out shows again, and it didn't go under. Do the math. Okay. Smart business decision.
Okay.
But maybe. That wasn't, to me, that wasn't really, I don't know. I didn't, yeah.
I think personally, it brings in a new audience. Like, my wife would watch a reality TV show, but she won't watch wrestling.
Yeah.
She'll watch a reality TV show about jack shit. Okay, seriously. She watches these people bake things. She watches people dress up in all kind of different clothes. She watches any kind of reality TV. I guarantee she would watch a show about wrestling, but not watch wrestling. She loves the drama, Nick. She loves that shit. I think they could broaden the audience and then draw more money. I think it's good for wrestling. I think you can't continue to hide wrestling behind a wall.
It can't hurt. Let me back up. It can't hurt NWA. I'm not saying, I mean, you just asked me the specifics of reality show for a wrestling company, I'm not a fan. I'm not saying it's going to hurt NWA, and I'm not saying, and I get it. If it was a money-making opportunity for them, go for it. I totally couldn't say no not to do it. Just from the perspective of the question of what do you think about a reality show for wrestling, I don't like it, but that's okay. Look, I'm out of the demo. I'm probably not the demo they're trying to attract. All those things are equal. It's okay. I totally.
What
understand.
demo are we in anymore? Who are the? What are we?
We don't matter demo now. Like we just don't matter anymore. We're that old demo that they say like, well, like a lot of old people watch NXT. All right, well, guess what? We're fucking watching NXT, so we're probably in that demo.
I keep getting the AARP emails, Nick, and letters.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm not going to go there. Try selling Medicare supplements to people. That's what I do. I deal with it, Just saying. All right, let's wrap it up with a big question that I got right last minute. I want to make sure we got it in.
Okay. Our good buddy, Derwin Baker. Hello, Derwin. Thank you for your submission. Your continued support means a lot to us. You've always been a good friend of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. You live in Conway, Arkansas. Thank you, Derwin. Not for living in Conway, Arkansas. Thank you for being a fan. Have you guys seen the Iron Claw trailer yet? And if so, what are your thoughts? Well, Nick, I saw our friend Billy Friday night, and Billy asked, are we going to go see the movie?
Yeah, he messaged me. Yeah.
Of course, he was drunk. But are you interested in seeing this movie?
Oh, 100%. So I'm hoping, here's the hope. I'm super jacked for this movie. I'm amazed that they even put any budget they did into it, right? The problem was I made the ultimate mistake of I went back through and I watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode again on the Von Erichs, and I'm like, look, I get it. This is the challenge. This is the challenge of doing a story on the family. I haven't looked deep into it enough to know what time spans are we covering? Are we going to cover the glory years and we're going to stop before we get to a lot of the bad stuff? Or are we going all in on the back end and it's going to get dark real quick on the end? Oh. I'm hoping it's a little, more of a upswing movie than a peak movie. Because it's a dark, tragic, thing with that family. And, I am excited to see it, and I'm probably going to go with Billy to see it because he wants to go see it pretty quick. So the answer is yes. We are excited to see it. I really just hope it's not as dark as I've seen the Dark Side of the Ring I think twice already on the Von Erichs. Watched it for a third time, and somehow my brain blocks out how dark that thing gets.
It's a really tough one. It's the really, really tough one. It's
and Myron, what's worse is we know what happened. We were there we lived it the first time as everything happened, and live it happened. So it's like, dude, it just doesn't get any better. It's like when you watch a bad movie and you hope it gets better every time you watch it. You're like, no, this is still really bad. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I got mixed feelings about the whole thing. If I were to watch the Dark Side of the Ring again, I know I wouldn't go. If y'all have an extra seat when y'all are going, let me know. I'll go. I will tell you, it wasn't great to see Billy sing at karaoke. I outsang everybody there. I only did one song. I stick with Charlie Rich's Behind Closed Doors.
I saw.
It's a beautiful job, Nick. You should have been there. Beautiful job. American Legion in Sugar Hill is a wonderful place, folks. If you're ever needing a place to hang out. The whole family drank. I think it was except for me, and ate, and I think it was like $60.
Yeah, it's a great hang. Yeah, it's a great hang. If I hadn't been going to George Strait the next night, I would have gone, but I was, prepping up. I needed all my strength and energy for the next night. So, by the way, 6.5 hour concert. Like what?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So
that's like an indie show.
Actually, there's going to be an indie show that it will be the equivalent to that I'm going to talk about in a second. Mucha Lucha had their 10-year anniversary. But let me go ahead. Kudos to them, man. Congratulations.
Amen.
Good job, man. Look, everybody's like, oh, I'm sure it was going to be a killer show. I was recovering from George Strait the night before, so I had no shot of sitting through another one. But we got there, dude. By the way, AMG Lounge, Mercedes-Benz, clapping. All your drinks, food, everything included with your tickets, I highly recommend. Yeah, drinks and alcohol, everything, Myron, was included.
Oh, alcohol was included?
Everything. If they gave you a wristband, you basically walked in and out all night as much as you wanted to, get whatever you want to, and it was covered.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So check that out. That's worth it. It's but it was Little Big Town. It was Willie Nelson. It was Carrie Underwood, and it was George Strait. They obviously had kind of set changes between, so you had 3 changes in between. So I was like, it was about 20 minutes in between each where they had to change the stage over. It was still 5 because it started at 5 o'clock and it was over at 11:30. So I mean, it was still a good 5 hours of music for those 4 acts. But anyway, bucket list item. I'd always wanted to see George Strait. I'm a big George Strait. And listen, I did not realize Willie Nelson's 90.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's the last couple of times I've heard him, he sounded pretty rough.
No, he sounded great. It wasn't that. He didn't. Now, he sits in a chair and he sings. He plays that guitar, he plays trigger, and he sings, and that's it. Like, he's not dancing around and wandering around the stage and stuff, but I was just kind of like, I didn't realize he was that old, and I was like, dude, kudos. He did a great job.
Yeah, I would have loved to seen him.
Yeah. By the way, Little Big Town, somebody needs to tell me how they were, because I was way too busy eating and drinking and all that stuff in the AMG lounge while they played. So I only caught the last 3 acts. So, but I heard they were great. And George is George, man. George is the effing man. I'm like, he just is. I'm like, but and God bless her. My mother-in-law went, she's 77. I'll have to show you video off air. I recorded some video of her. She's just dancing in a bebop, and she had a blast. And it was to me, that's the kind, like, when I take the kids to see Taylor Swift, watching how much fun they had, like, that's the fun for me.
Yeah.
Taking her to see George Strait was like, that was the fun for me. That
Like
was literally
kids at wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it is. So, maybe I should put some video footage up, Myron, of it all over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com, @TappedOutPods, the handle, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Look, show again, we mentioned it at the top of the show. I release it on YouTube just in the morning. It's never going to be later than 12 because I schedule it for 12. But when I get up and I get going, I usually come down to the office. I go ahead and release it. So if you've got those notifications on your YouTube channel, you might get that show as early as like 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Who
Nick
knows?
never wakes up late.
I try not to. Some days I go back to bed. That's a whole other story.
I try to wake up late.
Yeah, exactly. Now, however, we understand there's a lot of podcast listeners out there. They don't like, necessarily, they're not really sure they can handle all the sexiness oozing through their screen on YouTube. So they go to the podcast version, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere and everywhere there's a podcast platform. We are there. Make sure you're subscribing it. That one, I'm scheduling it at 12. It's going to release at 12. I'm not going in and doing anything crazy in the lips and stuff. Because remember, if you are having a podcast, Libsyn lets you schedule it. They let you do all those extra things. Libsyn.com, promo code TAPPED. Sign up today and get up to 2 months for free using Libsyn.com.
You're wasting your time if you have a podcast on any other provider. Just wasting your time.
They've got their perks. Yeah. And by the way, they help you do when it comes to monetizing, they help you do that too. So keep that in mind as well. Anything else you got before we get out of here, Myron?
Congratulations to Brittany and Nigel on their wedding. Congratulations, guys. It's a month away from WrestleCade. I look forward to seeing y'all. I'll buy y'all a drink, and we'll throw you a mini shower there in the bar at the hotel. Also, looking forward to wrestling next week. Got a nice show in Colbert this weekend. Might get to see George South if you feel like going, Nick. Got a Halloween party this Saturday. I don't know what I'm dressing up as. I think I just got a Hawaiian shirt.
Why don't you just go and just be Patrick every year? At this point, you're Patrick. SpongeBob SquarePants, you're Patrick the Starfish.
I mean, I could pass.
Yeah, just put the giant underwear on and you're Patrick.
Most days I could pass for Patrick.
Exactly. That's my point.
I remember about as much as Patrick most days.
You just have to walk with your arms out and do the like.
I kind of do that anyway. God, I fell down twice yesterday moving those mattresses around. The second time I pulled one of those damn boxes of bed frames down on me. Oh, I'm so far, folks. We bought Nectar beds here at the house. That sounds like a weird name for a bed. And then we put them together and installed them. So I am experimenting with adjustable bed frames. I will keep y'all posted on that if I can remember to, which I probably won't. But it's been really nice so far.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we get a sponsorship out of Nectar Beds. So,
Nectar. It lifts my big fat ass up and down.
I was gonna say Nectar. If it'll hold our fat ass, it's worth every penny.
We haven't. It's still in the testing phase.
Stop.
Let me have some more tussing.
There you go. All right, man. Anything else before we jet out of here?
If I started cussing, I'd just drink some tussin and Myron the podcasting man. Oh, sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to get impaired during
That's all right. All right. Anything else,
I'm going to
brother?
go home and I am home. I'm going to go upstairs and take a nap. I love professional wrestling. I'm looking forward to the next Halloween Havoc. Looking forward to SmackDown. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for next weekend.
And just, because look, next week we should be back. We're caught up on the mailbag a little bit. We'll be back hopefully to the regular format next week. More indie stuff next week. I know we got 2 big shows the following week, stuff like that. So we'll have some more stuff to get into. But yes, check out, UWF this weekend if you've got an opportunity up there in Colbert, Georgia. So that's 100% what my recommendation would be for the week.
Yes. Hopefully most of this medication will be worn off by the time we record next week.
Yep. Anything else, brother?
I'm good.
All right, man. Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.